So this gospel takes place immediately after where Jesus says, "Who do you say that I am?" And they say, "Well, some say this, some say that." And Peter says, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And he says, "That's right, okay." And then he says, "Now the Son of Man must go up and be crucified and suffer and die." And then Peter, of course, says, "God forbid, Lord." And Jesus says, "Get behind me, Satan." And then he continues and says, "You also must take up your cross." Now, remember, this is before Jesus has gone to the crucifixion. So they do not, as Jesus is saying it, they don't understand fully the resurrection. They don't really get it at all, quite frankly, at this point. So they only see, wait a second, we have to take up our cross? That's like on the way of a criminal in a terrible way of dying. Jesus says, this is the way you follow me. You have to deny yourself. I have to be first. I have to be first. Now, it is important to recognize we're not called to love the cross for the sake of the cross. We're called to love the cross because of the one who hangs on the cross. This is a mistake I made in my earlier years, in that I was very much, I need to do all these penances and do all these things. But I was doing them not for love of Jesus. In fact, I was doing them more for hatred for myself. As if I needed to punish myself. And the Lord says, that's not the reason to love the cross. The reason to love the cross is to love the one who hangs on the cross. That we want to be close to him. And on this First Friday, we look and we see how the Sacred Heart of Jesus, it pours out his love for you, for me. And it is that love which then spurs us on to say, I'm going to say no to myself. I'm going to deny myself for love of him. We look at the saints today, St. Sixtus and companions. St. Sixtus II, actually, one of his deacons was more famous than St. Sixtus. You're saying, who's St. Sixtus? Well, one of his deacons, we have his feast day on Monday, St. Lawrence. And the story goes that as St. Sixtus was being led off to death, St. Lawrence was saying, where are you going without your deacon? And he's saying, don't worry, you'll follow in 3 days. And he does. But we'll talk more about that probably on Monday. But we look and we see what spurred these martyrs to give their lives. It wasn't, I believe that, we have the right way of thinking. It wasn't, I'm a big sinner, so I need to die to myself. It was, I love Jesus, and I want to follow him. And nothing is more important than that. Let's ask the Lord to expand our hearts so that we may love him with such a generous love that we will be willing to follow him, even as it means to deny ourselves and to take up our cross.